Hi, this is Kevin Brown with your 2 Minute Tuesday. President Obama admits it. So what does he admit? He admitted in a book that's been written by Ben Rhodes called The World as It Is, and this is Rhodes right after Hillary Clinton was defeated by Trump in 2016. He was an advisor. Of course, he like many Democrats, were devastated. In the book, Rhodes penned these words in being in close concert with Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. President Obama said, maybe this is what the people want. And then he said this, sometimes I wonder whether I was 10 or 20 years too early. Maybe, see this, maybe we pushed too far. I think you're right, Mr. President. I think you did push too far. In fact, it's interesting. I was continuing to read some information. This is a gentleman who is a Democratic Party, elite, and he said this. He said, look, I am as progressive as anybody, okay, but people in the heartland thought the Democratic Party cared more about where someone else went to the restroom than whether they had a good-paying job. And that's a Democrat saying that. This was reported in the Washington Post. In fact, in the same Washington Post article, it describes Democrats are still ignoring the people. Still ignoring the people. Illinois General Assemblyman, this is Jerry Costello, a Democrat, said, "You're killing us. The Democratic brand is hugely damaged and it's going to take a while to bring it back." See, you say, well, why? Kevin, why do you even care about politics? You're a pastor and you're not supposed to mix politics with religion. Well, that's not true at all. The Bible teaches in Romans 13 that we are to respect the authorities and the civil authorities and so forth, and we are to be civic-minded and such. So I've always been intrigued by politics well before I became a pastor 13 years ago. I'm intrigued by politics because of this. What ultimately ends up coming down as our laws is something that's ultimately been formulated by the culture at large some maybe 10 years earlier, maybe even 20 years earlier. And so what Barack Obama was pushing, yeah, I think you're right, Mr. President, was too far and it was too soon. And I might even postulate this. Maybe it'll never happen. Maybe we do need to care more about the Rust Belt and whether or not people have jobs and can support their families versus whether or not someone, because they feel like a man today and a woman tomorrow, can use the bathroom of their choice. Maybe we can get back to common decency, just basic American living. And when we do that, whichever party speaks to that is probably going to get elected. Interesting that yesterday the Supreme Court voted on behalf of the cake baker in Colorado, 7-2, to support religious liberty over making a guy bake a cake that goes against his convictions, when there was a half a dozen other bakers in town that could have baked the cake. Surely we can be kind enough to one another as a tolerant people who want to coexist with one another, that we don't make people do things against their conscience, whatever that might be, whether that's an atheist that doesn't want to believe in God, or a photographer or a cake baker that doesn't want to bake a cake. And whichever party speaks to those type of feelings and morality, I think will win. I think President Obama, I think you're right. I think maybe perhaps pushed too far. It's been Kevin Brown with your 2 Minute Tuesday.